Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/JustNoMil. In today's episode, my MIL DNA tested our daughter and told my husband she isn't his. Divorcing husband over his mom. I think my MIL might be trying to kill me. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. My MIL DNA tested our daughter and told my husband she isn't his. Posted from my TA. TW mention of SA. My 45F husband 48M and I have been together for 25 years. We have 3 kids, F8, M15, and F17. My husband and I had a lot of trouble conceiving our daughter. We went through several years with no luck and had seen a fertility doctor who had prescribed some medication to help with ovulation. We couldn't afford IVF, so we were going to try this last thing and then look into adoption. Well, long story short, I was SA'd during a burglary while my husband was out with his brother. It was right when I was to be ovulating. At the hospital, I took EC even though I knew it would undo all the hard work, medication, and mean we wouldn't be able to have a baby of our own, but I couldn't risk getting pregnant with my Roard's baby. Well, after a few months I've been feeling off, sick, down. I figured I was just depressed after the SA and I hadn't been eating. But I soon found out I was pregnant. We were so excited until I went to my appointment and found out I was 15 weeks instead of the May 6 weeks I thought I was. I had been having really irregular spotting/bleeding since the EC, so didn't even imagine I was that far along. My husband and I were devastated because that meant there was so much uncertainty surrounding paternity. We had our ultrasound, and as soon as we saw the baby on the screen, I knew I couldn't have an abortion, and my husband didn't want to either. We talked and went back and forth about adoption and if the baby didn't end up being his or what we would do, and he said he didn't care about paternity, we just wouldn't find out. We decided to wait until our child was older to tell them and they could decide if they wanted to find out themselves. I will also note at this point my case was unsolved but had been linked to other SAs/murders at the time. A few years ago my rapist was caught and a year ago finally sentenced. At the hearing I spoke and my daughter and son knew about it, but I didn't go into details, but they knew I was attacked but only knew it was before they were born. Last Christmas my MIL bought my daughter and only my daughter a 23andMe for Christmas. I thought it was extremely weird but didn't think too much of it. Thinking back, I don't know why I didn't see it for what it was. My daughter was equally confused and asked if I wanted to do it instead. I'm adopted. I said sure and just gave my daughter an Amazon gift card for the price of the test. My daughter brought it to my attention that my MIL has been overly critical of my daughter in the last few months, commenting on her differences. Saying things like, "I wonder where those eyes came from, hair, height." She even said to my daughter, "I wonder why you're so skinny." My daughter looks exactly like me, the same eyes color, same hair color and texture, but she is quite a bit taller than me. I'm 5 feet 8 inches, she's 6 feet. I'm on the heavier side, so is my husband, and my daughter is extremely thin, but she is also an athlete. I've never had any reason to believe from looks alone that she is not my husband's daughter. After my daughter brought it to my attention how my MIL was acting, I spoke with her and she said, "Oh, she's just being sensitive." This was a couple months ago. A couple nights ago my MIL invited my husband and I out for dinner and told us to leave the kids at home because she had something important to discuss with us. We did. We went to a restaurant, we're eating, and my MIL hands me and my husband 2 separate envelopes. My husband and I both look in the envelope and they are a DNA comparison results. I asked my MIL what it was and she said, "The proof that you're the garbage I always knew you were." I was extremely confused. I asked whose DNA she compared, and as I said that I just knew, she said my husband and my daughter. My husband looked at me and he looked so hurt and lost. I'll never get that image out of my head as long as I live. I called her a heartless C*NT and my husband and I left. I blocked her number from mine and my kids' phones, but figured my husband needed to make that decision on his own. My husband told me last night my MIL called him and he stopped by after work at her house. She was telling my husband she's known for a while and suspected for a very long time and that she wasn't sure how to approach the topic with him. My husband asked how she knew that. She said she overheard my BIL talking to his wife and heard our daughter may not be his. My MIL took that to mean that I cheated, so she did a DNA test. Last year around the hearing, my husband got drunk and ended up mentioning the hearing and some details to my BIL. Apparently, that night while sleeping he said I couldn't protect her and what if she's not mine? My husband was extremely drunk and did not remember doing this. My mother-in-law does not know that I was sad, but she does know there was a break-in and I was attacked. She kept trying to convince my husband to leave me. My husband told her what she did was unforgivable and that he is going to cut her off. My husband is inconsolable. He's so upset he told his mother to get off and then told her that my attack was actually an SA and that's who our daughter's biological father. It still makes me sick to say that. She tried to apologize, but my husband told her he can't forgive her and not to contact any of us. I told everyone my MIL DNA tested our daughter and we were done with her. I have 7 siblings, 5 think I'm in the right, the other 2 and my BIL can't believe MIL did that but understands why, because she didn't have the entire story and assumed I wasn't being truthful to my husband. But even if I wasn't, I can't imagine being a parent so concerned with my child's relationship that I would go to those lengths to meddle. Cutting her off fully and permanently is the only response appropriate for such a nasty, meddling piece of work. Anyone who takes her side can join her. She wanted to destroy your beautiful family for something that was none of her business. There could have been any number of reasons for such a result. Donor sperm, IVF mix-up, etc. She's also been treating your daughter differently based on her perceived paternity, and that's not on. She's never going to view her as family. I'd suggest counseling to support you and your husband and, depending on what she knows, for your daughter if she needs it. So sorry you find yourself in this situation. Hugs to all of you. The proof that you're the garbage I always knew you were. Yeah, cut her out, she just let you know what she really has always thought of you. She was hoping you did cheat and your husband would dump you and get rid of you, but it backfired on her. The other 2 and my BIL can't believe MIL did that but understands why, because she didn't have the entire story and assumed I wasn't being truthful to my husband. It wasn't a story she had a right to have. She didn't have the right to be involved in any of this. I am so sorry she hurt your family like this. She deserves to deal with whatever misery she caused. If the MIL had any thought the wife was cheating, the only right she would have is to talk to the husband about it and then go from there. Until she has her son's POV, she has no other path to take, and she seriously messed up by taking the worst path she could have. Oh honey. First off, I am so incredibly sorry for the trauma you've been through and that your POS mill reopened those wounds. This is one of the most vile MIL stories I've read, and I've been on this site for a long time. Please know that you and your husband have made the right choice in cutting her off. No one else's opinion matters, honestly. It may be worth looking into family therapy so y'all figure out how can move forward from this together. Sending y'all love. I am so sorry you were attacked and now MIL has attacked you again. No excuse for this intrusive attack on your family's privacy. I admire how you and DH have handled everything. Please keep your children away from her. She's already treating your daughter differently and sounds like she could be very cruel to her. No one needs to be put through that. As MIL tells everyone she can about this, block and end relationships with anyone who attempts to say she was only protected her son or anything like that. Her only goal was to expose you and it backfired. Now she has to play victim. First of all, I'm deeply sorry about your SA. I hope that you're doing well. Secondly, your MIL is a horrible person. Absolutely vile. I'm sorry that your husband is devastated, but he did the right thing in cutting her off. I would suggest that the 2 of you attend some couples counseling. Only because you're both going to have some giant feelings about this and you may need someone to help guide you through it. I want to throw out that you and your husband are amazing people. Knowing full well what was going on, you loved your daughter for who she was, not potentially who her father was and what he did. Your MIL is completely on the wrong, but you and your husband are inspirational. Keep rocking and love your family. Divorcing husband over his mom. Moved in with my MIL, had no choice, husband and I both lost our jobs. I realize, she's just an awful person. She talks badly about almost every person she sees. At a restaurant she called the server disgusting, because she had tattoos, a cashier dumb/slow, he clearly had a disability, and the sweet elderly neighbor an ugly disgusting piece of shit, for no reason. She's constantly around me, morning and night, and makes continuous comments loud enough for me to hear about how much trouble I'm causing with the food I'm making. My cooking stresses her out because she cannot stand a single dirty utensil. Anything more than heating up frozen dinners is too much work for her. She called me crazy for planting an organic garden and at one point accidentally locked me out of the house. She also goes into our room and rearranges our things because she can't stand seeing it. Everything is an inconvenience to her, from her having to move her car, to our dog playing with hers. I suspect that one night when she was watching our dog, we'd gone out for our anniversary, she let him eat something bad because he was violently sick for 2 days. She literally laughed about it. If she can't watch a dog, how will she watch our future kids? It's also an inconvenience to pronounce my family's names correctly. She replies with, "That's too hard. I'm not going to bother pronouncing it. Why can't they have English names?" She has the most annoying voice too. Picture Fran Drescher, from The Nanny, with a thick Long Island accent but more shrill. She also never shuts up. She always has something cruel to say, and doesn't care if people hear her comments in public. It's extremely embarrassing. My husband says she won't change, so don't even bother. He also doesn't want me to talk to him about it and said to be more understanding because she's a lonely, bored old woman. She made it clear she wants to move in with us if we should get a house within the next year. I told him absolutely not. He keeps bringing it up and said we can buy a property with a guest house. Yeah, right. You think that woman will stay there? I finally got fed up and said I'd divorce him if he agrees to it. Is that reasonable or not? My husband says she won't change, so don't even bother. He also doesn't want me to talk to him about it and said to be more understanding because she's a lonely, bored old woman. He is never going to take your side because he doesn't see a problem with her. This will be his response if you have kids and she does things you don't like with them. He is signaling to you that he is not going to do anything about this and you need to just suck it up and deal with it because he's fine with things as they are. You are lucky in that he is telling you exactly how your future is going to be before you commit further. Don't buy a house with this guy and do not have children with him. Cut your losses now and find a partner who puts you first. Mama's boys never do. You are right on OP. Your spouse may choose to tolerate you and your family being continually disrespected, but you do not need to. That is not what marriage is. You are not threatening divorce, you are simply stating what the outcome will be if your husband continues to prioritize someone other than you. Any way you can move in with your family during this time? This is 100% true. Unfortunately, I can't move in with my family. My parents are helping take care of my older sister and nephew. Both also have medical and behavioral issues, and there's no room. So on top of trying to cater to my MIL, I'm driving 1.5 hours, twice a week to help out my own parents. Luckily, my parents are lovely and kind people. So at least when I'm there it's sort of like a retreat. I mean, I don't know if it's fair to say, but it's the truth. Unfortunately, he may feel manipulated by this ultimatum you are putting on him as he doesn't see the problem with his mom. I think sometimes the sons are so used to their moms that they don't fully get it why their wife would be so upset. But you have every right to be upset. I would want a divorce if MIL lives with you when you move. Well, we wouldn't buy the house, we would get a divorce instead. Just make sure you are ready to follow through if it goes down that route or your word won't mean anything. I don't think she's being manipulative. She's presenting a choice that either they live together going forward or she gets going. If I were you, OP, I would get going. NTA, you need to run now. Let him deal with her alone for a couple of weeks, I'm sure he will change his tune. If not, get a divorce lawyer. Also make sure you are in full control of your birth control. She accidentally locked you out, WTF. What did he have to say about that? If he realizes his mistake and you move forward to purchase a house, don't sign a deed unless there's a contract stating that his mother will never live with you. Smart. Wish I had left 18 years ago. Do not bring kids into the picture. Look up enmeshment. Your husband sounds like mine. He is only this year dealing with it after over a year of therapy and more than one professional telling him he is indeed enmeshed. You are not crazy, you deserve much better. You are being absolutely reasonable. You married your husband, not his mother. She is not part of the household you intended, and she sounds a perfect nightmare. Throwing kids into a household that includes her would be tantamount to abuse. You have given your husband a very clear choice. He gets to live with his mother or with you. He can't have both. His choice. I hope, for his sake, he chooses you. I think my MIL might be trying to kill me. Okay, so for context, my MIL, 49F, stepped by a few weeks ago to have a cup of tea and I, 24F, had made some fresh cookies. While there she asked me about my will. I have none, and what would happen to my apartment if I died. I am not dying or even sick. The thing is, my BF, 27M, of almost a year moved in with me in February. I own the apartment, and I alone pay the mortgage. BF pays half the costs associated with living there, around $350 per m all inclusive, plus we have a joint account for food, $200/m/each. When he moved in, I asked that he did not make a deposit plus would not pay rent till he was out of his old lease. The reason being that I wanted him to have some savings in case we split up and he needs to rent a place. Anyway, I told my MIL that the apartment and the huge department along with it would go to my parents in the case of my untimely demise. She was not happy with the answer and insisted we should make a will to benefit each other. He owns nothing, so really it would be to benefit him, so that her son wouldn't end up homeless if something happened to me. I in turn told her that in the unlikely case that I got hit by a bus, then that would be something he needed to sort out with my parents. They love him, there is no way it would be an issue. That was that, and she left soon after. I didn't think too much of it at first, because I am in law school and what is the law on this? Questions aren't out of the ordinary, until I realized she wasn't asking what the law was. She knew well what the law was. She was asking if I had a will and implying I should make one in favor of her son. Since then, I have been a little paranoid if I am being honest. I keep hearing her in the discussions I have with my BF and I know he talks to her about everything. It has slowly started to drive me nuts, and I am reconsidering a lot of things all of a sudden. I am making adjustments to my loan in 7 months. I had considered offering him to buy half of it, so we'd own it together, but now I am not sure if that is a good idea. We have been looking at houses and even one apartment together that we could possibly afford after we both graduate this summer, but I think maybe purchasing something on my own might be a better idea. We have talked about getting married and Project Baby, but all of a sudden I want to put everything on hold. The thing is, I will never be sure, will I? That he isn't faking all the love I believe we have together. Am I being completely unreasonable? Update. Thank you everyone for all of your concern, support, and advice. I took some of it and decided to speak with my dad about it. He understood my concern but said that to him there were no reason to think my BF is trying to kill me at the moment. He argued that my BF grew up in a family without property and that can have an effect on how they view these matters. Apparently he went through some of the same discussions with my mother back in the day. My dad's family had money, my mother's didn't, and he had some very good solutions on how to make a proper prenup. We decided that I should word a will. He wanted some advice at the same time as he and my mother are in the begging progress of changing theirs. 40 have gone since they made their prenup, so I will be looking into the subject some more and make a will to register at the court. I will be taking my good friend with me as a witness, and then after I will inform my BF that matters has been handled, and in the case of my demise the will ensures him 6 months to get his affairs in order before he has to leave the property, which will then go to my parents. Everything else is already handled in relation to medical stuff and such. I am slamming the brakes on the relationship. My dad advised that my BF should buy his own apartment as soon as possible, either for one or both of us to live in, or to rent out as investment. Either way, this should settle the score and make sure he isn't screwed so that neither of them can use this argument again. This buys me a little time to figure out if this relationship is going to work. I am also going to call my doctor and ask for a spiral so no one can mess with my birth control. Honestly, putting your MIL's comments aside, you haven't been together that long, so I would hold off putting his name on anything until you know this is going to last. Honestly, I could cut my losses and dump him. Get him out of your house. This sounds pretty scary. You haven't even been dating for a year and they're trying to get you to rewrite your will? All the red flags. This won't end well. When you break up with him, make sure to let someone know that you're breaking up with him, and tell them a time you will call them. That way, if you miss the timeline to call, they will call the police to check on you. Once this guy moves out, changes all the locks and change all your passwords as well. It's kind of telling that you already made an easy escape plan for this relationship by allowing him to only pay $350 per MO so he has some savings in case you split. I'm not an expert, but from personal experience that probably means there are already some red flags that were there but you've been coming up with explanations for and dismissing them. But they're still there. Then add the creepy MIL. A will is important, but it's not her place to ask that kind of thing, just like you would probably feel weird asking her all her financial business and who is getting what in her will. Like, by itself, I don't think you can tell if she is plotting to kill you, it's just her being rude and nosy. But if you need any validation to leave a relationship, your gut feeling is good enough, and it sounds like you're thoroughly creeped out. You need to get that man out of your house immediately. This is enough red flags for a parade. Never, ever put his name on anything of yours. Women, stop moving in broke men into your place. Where was he living before he moved in with you? Why are you making all the cohabitation plans? How long have you two been dating? Are you engaged? Protect your assets because your BF and his mother, she's not your MIL, are plotting. You need to end this or I'll be watching your murder story next year on ID Crime Channel. Don't put his name on anything. My BF and I moved into a house together after a year. It made sense at the time because he was basically living with me anyway due to the pandemic. We'd talked about getting married and having kids, etc. Suffice to say that didn't happen, and getting out of that situation was way harder than it needed to be, because his name was on things. If I could go back in time, I'd tell myself that protecting myself didn't mean loving him less. So that is my advice. If he doesn't understand or is angry about it, he isn't the one, anyway. Don't buy property with someone you're not married to. Especially someone broke. Definitely don't get pregnant or married. Between the questions from his mother and the suggested project baby, this doesn't sound good. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.